So I got all the gifts that I've wanted for my birthday. Yeah, if you guys noticed though, you can actually say that in my community post. I did say I wanted to wait until I got all of the gifts that I wanted to get for my birthday. And honestly, it was worth it because I actually got all of the gifts that I have though. And guess what? I finally got a pair of headphones. Okay, I really got two pair of headphones, but the ones I'm using right now are pretty much worth it. But yeah, apparently there's a reason why I needed these headphones. You may have noticed that all these here videos that I've done, except for the YouTube shorts and maybe some of them with a black screen, I didn't really have that great audio. Mostly because when and I'm using StreamYard, I have to use headphones. And I'll admit part of that has to do with me using something that avoids the echo effect. Now, say what you will about some of the videos, though, a lot of my audio is pretty shitty. And this is coming from someone who's not a very good editor, and I can't really do much to do so already, though. I would hire someone, though, but honestly, I don't know how that works, though. Call me a stupid flamingo, but that's beside the point, though. But enough about what I got for my birthday. This ain't a birthday haul video. But oh boy, did I pick a good series to come back on when it comes to Halloween. So, in courtesy of this year video, let's talk about the Josie I demographic. If you're not familiar with the Josie I demographic, well, basically it's the opposite of CNN, where CNN is mostly around for aimed at adult men, so and involved. Josie I is more aimed at adult women, and I'll admit part of that has to do with me trying to see what I can do with these here stuff, though. And honestly, when it comes to the Josie I show, I actually do have a little history with them as is, though. My introduction to the Josie I demographic would have to be, if anything, from Princess Jellyfish. This shouldn't be a surprise to literally anyone in my audience, no matter how many times you look at someone that says about the Josie I demographic. However, I did have trouble watching it back then. Yeah, as I said in the Akazuka Cha-Cha video, I really get hell every time I watch something that's really Shojo or Josie I demographic. Now, I'll admit part of that has to do with me going through a lot more than one meets the eye, but honestly, when it comes right down to it, I couldn't get into a lot of it, though. You know why? Because I get yelled at every time I watch something that's my demographic. I don't know why, but that's how it happens every time though. So as such though, I decided to take a look at something that is something like that and see anything know when it comes to the Josie I demographic. This year, while I admit that it's not really a good year by all accounts, I will fully admit I actually started watching the Josie I demographic this year, which is honestly one of the better options I would have had, but right up there what I'm gonna say though, it's really no surprise I had to do that. And I'll admit I'll admit though, I've only seen a handful of these here Josie I shows. Josie I is actually one that has a very simple gimmick. While they do involve around something like around a certain genre, it's really no surprise that a lot of these here her demographics do follow a certain category. Now, for Josie I, it's usually due to realism or something around the parts of growing up. But even with that said, however, Josie I is not afraid to go through heavy topics, especially ones that go through the lighthearted shows. I will admit I've only seen a handful of these year shows, but even that said, however, I don't really think I've seen all of them just yet. Though there are a ton of them that could be said though. But every once in a while, sometimes even a good horror could actually lighten me up at times though. Now, I admit I'm not a huge horror fan, but like I said in the Petaliro video, I did say I was going to take a look at a horror series, and wouldn't you know it, that series is this series in particular, Pet Shop of Horrors. For those of you who don't know, Pet Shop of Horrors is based on the manga by Matsuru Ikino, who happens to be having an extensive resume up her sleeve, but honestly, there's not a lot of pages on her Wikipedia page that actually show that, though. I'll admit part of that has to do with also with her manga. See, Pet Shop of Horrors lasted for 10 volumes, while lasting from um, 1994 to 1998, with a few other publishers coming around though, and decided to go five from that from 2004 to 2012, and another series from 2013 to 2017, and from there we also got some other stuff though from 2018 to 2020. For about a long time though, this series has been running on for a long time though. And when you get right down to it, it's really no surprise though. But while I admit the manga itself is something I would take a look at though, sadly I can't really look at it because of one thing. You see, this manga was licensed by Tokyo Pop in the USA, but it's discontinued, and now you can only find it in Tokyo Pop UK. So anyone who's in the UK can probably find it better than I could have, though. But I'll admit, part of that has to do with me as a kid who was a kid like Flamingo who wants to see more of that, though. Well, the series it's manga is something I would gladly take a look at, though. Sadly, I can't really say much in of itself, though. See, the manga itself, while I will admit part of that has to do with what it is, though, it's sadly one of those manga I can't really find elsewhere, though. Until I found out that there was an anime to it, though. Yeah, the anime itself is actually one wanted to take a look at for a while, though. But honestly, there was a reason why I wanted to take a look at it, though. You see, I didn't look at this through, say, YouTube videos, although there are some reviewers out there who take a look at like Kaiser Beam and Anime Abandoned for those who watched Ben at this age. But honestly, other than that, though, there was not a lot of people who talked about it it's in depth though. Other than that, the only thing I've heard a lot of people say about was the manga, which it makes a lot of sense considering that, the manga itself has lasted for quite some time though. It's coming from someone who really wanted to see the anime for itself because I was just that curious though. The anime was animated by Studio Madhouse, which is the studio that I brought up in my Card Captor Sakura video. But they're no stranger to doing heavy topic themes around their series, including Paradise Kiss, Nana, the Goku Sin, and the Parasite the Maximus, One Punch Man, and Hunter x Hunter. While there are a lot of other shows I could put in a resume, I can't really say that much on in of itself though. Mostly because there's a ton of series that they've worked on though. But while I admit Pet Shop Horse has pretty much good taste though, sadly it didn't really last that long. It only lasted for 4 episodes. Yeah, chances are you probably have heard of a lot of people talk about this series before. Even and if you've actually wanted to see a horror series for yourself, this is one case I'm going in definitely tell where it's gonna rise from there though. Now I will admit they did have it on VHS at the time, but honestly the only way you could watch the series for yourself is if you watch it on Blu-ray on DVD, which is partially the reason why a lot of people watch it though. Now I'll admit the reason why I can't watch it is not just because of the I didn't have any way to actually see the series for myself, anything to judge by. But that's really one of the reasons why I couldn't do so already, though. So let's talk about Pet Shop Before the anime and see why it's so beloved even to this day. Now, the series itself doesn't really have a story per se, but there are things you're going to know about the anime itself, though. Basically, the series focuses around an eccentric pet shop owner. Well, not really, but the eccentric pet shop owner is one that a lot of people came on to, though. See, the pet shop owner himself is Count D, who happens to be a puppeteer her, her, of a mysterious pet shop located in the heart of Chinatown, and numerous patrons visit and around his supernatural shop, all with them getting a pet. Not something that looks like a cat or a dog, but something that does look very humanoid. However, there's a contract to be signed, though. Every one of them follows the same exact rule that you can't show it to anybody, but they do have two other rules that imply whatever the pet gives, though. Unbeknownst to the people behind it, though, they wonder what's going around though with these here pets. But after doing against the contract, because humans do that already, they decided to just do it against the contract, and bad or more than likely fatal comeuppance come across them, though. Until a strange things keep happening all the time, though. We meet up with the detective of the series, Leon, who doesn't know what's going on in the pet shop, but what he does know is that Count D is up to something sinister, though. He just doesn't know how this all happening. All with a moral at the end of every term that does already. And I love how they do these here titles, though. Like every title of a chapter or an episode usually has a letter or D to it. It's like Count D's name, though. Now, I will say, though, when it comes right down to it, this Count D wasn't really the only protagonist of this year her series. I mean, after all, though, he did have his father be a protagonist in and one of the Pet Shop of Horror series, though. But after that, we also get to see that his grandfather also owned the pet shop himself, though. We don't see his grandfather, but from what I've seen from looking it up, Hugh Chan, the bat that you're seeing on his shoulder, is the one was one on that's actually in his own other form while still going to his human form in the manga. Yeah, this is one case where I have to put my head down and say, man, I wish this were a lot longer. And it's not that surprising because honestly, this is an OVA series. If you don't know what an OVA series is, basically whatever series that doesn't go on to television or on something like, say, hey, movie theaters, though, they usually put it on home media where you can only buy it on VHS at the time. At the time of watching Pet Shop of Horrors, I have to say, what would happen if I did watch the series as a kid? But honestly, this wasn't really aimed at kids, though, even if Japan has their own ratings, though. This is more for an adult audience, so I can actually understand why they would do that though. But honestly, when it comes right down to it, Pet Shop of Horrors also revolves around something else, the atmosphere. Now, I know some people are gonna think maybe I'm just a scaredy flamingo or something like that along those terms, but to be honest, guys, I'm not a huge horror fan. I do like some horror shows out there, but this series basically grabbed my attention because it kind of reminded me of Holic mixed with Gremlins, although this came out before any of those two did. Yeah, Gremlins, I can't say because I haven't seen it, but I have actually heard and seen trailers of it, though. But after that, however, Holic, on the other hand, follows the same format. Basically, what you're getting into is have a contract signed. Whatever thing you get from the shop, you're gonna get it from there, and then just do what the rules imply to tell you to do. Except if you disobey any one of these rules, very scary comeuppance will get a cross on you from that. Now, Pet Shop of Horrors, I will say, while it does have an anthology series, though, this is what I mean when I say there's no overarching story unless you actually can follow continuity. This is another one of those shows I've actually seen where, despite having an anthology series, can have continuity. And before you say anything, I've seen something like this on Hell Girl. I don't know how many people in my audience have watched Hell Girl, but what I do know is that it does have a similar format to it. Basically, whatever the main villainous protagonist gives you is a deal, but if you do any of these rules imply, you will do what the contract says. Uh, but if anything, you have a catch. The catch is whatever that catch is to pay the price. Yeah, this is one aspect I have to be fully honest. This is not something that I think anyone is gonna like me watch all the time. But honestly, I'm a sucker for horror anthology shows like that. Anyone who's seen something like The Simpsons or a regular show have done horror anthology shows, and honestly, they're not really that bad though. Like Terror's Park, and also with The Simpsons with their own series called Treehouse of Horror, which is one that I still watch every now and then. Though I haven't watched any as of lately, but even so, I still I think it's worth watching anyways. Though, but now that you know about what happens in the series, though, let's get on to personal stuff like this. Though, now I'm gonna have to be completely blunt and say that unlike the Petalero video, I didn't really find this on a playlist. Although the same playlist I found from before did have this your series in. It's just way near the bottom, but it does get updated every now and then. I'll probably leave a link in the description if you want to see the playlist for yourself, though, guys, because honestly, there's a ton of Shojo and Josei openings and ending themes list that I highly encourage you if you want to see something that's really like, aimed at your demographic. But honestly, I'm not saying that you have to watch it. I'm just saying that, though. No, the thing with Pet Shop of Horrors is that I saw this on my anime list and some other lists where they have Josie Eye shows. Though I have no idea why they put Holic on one of those lists because they said that it's a Josie Eye series. If I remember correctly, Holic was more for shonen and seinen. It's not really a Josie Eye series. And when it comes right down to it, they do have a lot of shows out there that were recommended. I watched a handful of them on my list as is because honestly, I had this on a chart Now, if you don't know what I mean by a chart, basically last few years ago, which was around 2022 or 2023, I made a list of Shojo and Josei shows and put it on charts so I can watch it for myself. Basically, it's like a watch list, like whatever shows I want to watch for myself. But when it comes right down to it, Pet Shop of Horrors was really far from saying that I couldn't watch it though. Though honestly, the series does do a pretty good job of exploring though. Unlike a lot of OVA shows, I think this is actually one of the better ones I've come across on that though. Other ones weren't that great, but others could have been so much better due to the potential they had. See, this is what I mean when I say that this that one case where I wish the series could have been a lot better, but it wasn't anything like that would have had though. I'm not saying that this series is bad or anything, but when it comes to mythology shows, I actually gravitate them faster you could say. It just sucks that horror is usually the main genre that they always go for, but here we are. Before we dive into that, let's talk about the aspects of the series first. I will say though, while this was done by Madhouse, the animation doesn't look that bad though. I hear a lot of people say it's very stiff in some places here and there, but I don't think it's too bad. Like I said, this is definitely a series where it's more aimed at a realistic way though, but it's not really supposed to be too realistic in some aspects, if you get what I'm saying though. That said, however, I don't really mind the series as much as a lot of people say it would have, though. Though honestly, when it comes to the character designs, I think one of them only stand out to me was Count D. Mostly because I love how he's designed, though. Though I did find him pretty androgynous at first glance. Seriously, look at this guy on the picture I'm showing you. Tell me that you would think that was a woman at first glance. The makeup, the eyeliner, and everything, the short hair, notwithstanding. I think, unlike say Bunker on or Mariah from the Petalero video, this actually did really get me into that though. Though honestly, I watched the series months before her Petalero, so there you have it though. Yeah, this was during the time when I was watching other shows like not just this series, but as well as JoJo, parts 5 and 6, also with the Goku's this and as well as the other show I mentioned before, Great Teacher Onizuka. You do get to see a lot of other shows that have some formats though, but I wanted to find something that was Josei or Shojo related, guys. I'm not saying that I don't like Shonen or CNN. I'm just saying I wish there was ways I could find other shows that were aimed at me though. However, one thing's for sure though, I can't really say that the animation is that iconic like other Madhouse shows tend to be, but it's still pretty nice to look at. Though there are some times where it can get stilted at times, like they will go off model. So I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be a no, it's a too still it's not that bad to look at. It's not something like say Steel Puro where they have stilted shots like they do in Ghost Stories and make it look like it's creepy when it all turns out ugly. No, I think Madhouse did a pretty good job of adapting this here series. Although it does pretty much what you think it is, though. It's an OVA series, so it's not like you're going to get that many episodes. If the series is lucky enough to have us a full fledged series, maybe this series would have stood more of a chance if it was out nowadays, but I highly doubt anyone would gravitate when it comes right down to it, though. Though that's the problem when you have something like this, though, and itself, though. One thing's for sure, though, guys, I have to say, though, a lot of people seem to complain that anthology horror shows are nothing but predictable because they show the same format. And whatever format they have, it's usually just very formulaic in some ways. My response to that is you can still make something very formulaic and still go something that's unpredictable though. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I enjoy some horror stuff though. Like if you want to go through an anthology series and do disturbing moments, you can basically do the unpredictable. Though honestly, there are times when the results can be either pleasing or displeasing, depending on what you're looking for, though. Because honestly, when it comes right down to it, Pet Shop of Horrors does have the same thing you go through in a lot of ways, though. I hear a lot of people say that they would have the series a lot more better if it was better voice acted, but I'm not really sure about that. Yeah, this is one case where, unlike a lot of OVA series where it's cringy as fuck, I don't think this here OVA dub is bad. I mean, it was dubbed by Hey, hey, get this, Sentai Filmworks. If you're familiar with a lot of old school anime, though, you probably have heard of the studio before then. Sentai Filmworks has been going on for a long time, and if I just tell you everybody it's the work that I've seen on their list, though, we'd be here all day. But the short version of it is that I actually don't mind it as much as people say it is, though. But the dub itself is not bad. It just feels like there was a little goofy at times, though. Especially Count D's voice actor, John Demitzia. If you're not, although I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, he's mostly known for a lot of anime dubs as well as some live action roles. But I mostly know him for playing Cars from Battle Tendency from JoJo Part 2. And honestly, when it comes right down to it, he seems a lot more sane here than he was in the manga. See, in case you don't know, Count D was actually one that usually snaps at times, though. Though honestly, when it comes to him snapping, it's usually him trying to do his karate chop moves. And before you say anything, I don't know what the point of that was, but it was still worth it, though. There were some other voice actors that did have it, like Alex Fernandez and Julia Demetia. And honestly, when it comes right down to it, there's not a lot I can say about these your voice actors entirely, though, mostly because I haven't seen a lot of their works as of lately. But I'm guessing it's because either one, I don't pay attention to voice actor names, or I'm just too wrapped up into their voice acting skills. Other than that, though, there's not much uh, bad with their voice acting. It's goofy, yes, but I wouldn't call it great, though. So yeah, that's what I have to say about the voice acting. Though I will say, though, unlike Petaliro, I did manage to find all 4 episodes. It's not anything I would call too done for, but it's what gets the job done. Now, when it comes to the like, series itself, though, you really have nothing uh, to lose, though. Now, like I said before, this series is 4 episodes long, so it's not like you're gonna have to watch through it and say, "Yeah, there's not much I can get out of it." Unlike a lot of OVA shows, at least they actually do have something going for it though. But if you're not into anthology shows, like horror anthology shows or anything, then I don't think this series would get to it though. It's formulaic at the very most, and at the very least, it does have much of a story though. Though honestly, that may just well be me because I really don't mind anthology shows. And when it comes right down to it, a lot of people tend to hate it when there's an anthology horror series that just does that and just doesn't do anything new with it. I say there are times where it will get into something like that, but it does take a while to get going at times. Like in the manga, we do get to see a lot more of County's character, other than say he has a calm demeanor, and what's more, he can be a little more well nonchalant at times. Though he does have a sweet tooth in the anime, as well as the manga, because my God, does he always do cute expressions though? And I know that Josei is no stranger to not doing enough emotions because they always do a little emotion, but I don't think they're that bad. And count these expressions, and when it gets to Sweet Tooth episodes 3 and 4 specifically, oh my God, they really made me feel like he looked adorable there. And honestly, I'm not saying that because of that though, but he looks so charming, but still. But I do love County's character, though, even if he does act very sinister, though. Though, as for Leon, well, there's not much I can say about him, though. He does serve well as a detective, but he's basically a hot-headed head to detective. Like he wants to get answers and try to find out what's going on with that pet shop, and no one takes him seriously except for Jill, who happens to be more like a partner than anything in the series, but she's more like a secretary from what I've seen so far. Maybe in the manga she does get more fleshed out because again I haven't read it and it's very hard to do so nowadays, despite not living in the UK. Though honestly, if the series has done pretty well for itself, I think the one thing I have to take away from this is that if I had to guess why the series is not anything that a lot of people have seen or heard of, though, I'm guessing it came out in the wrong time. Horror series have been going on for a long time, though, but anthology shows are pretty much something that, while I admit I do enjoy them, they don't really have a lot of them. This series, Holic and Hellgirl, are the 2 shows I can think of that when it comes to having something, I think, like a horror genre, though. And when it comes right down to it, that's what I think of the series overall. If you are anyone like me who's into horror anthology shows, then there's nothing wrong with watching this series in particular, though. Though I will admit, it's not anything too bloody. Yeah, that's another reason why I don't like horror shows. They either do something that revolves around bloodiness or something that goes over the top like Elfin Lied does, or in this case, do the cheap tactic jump scares. Now, I have nothing against people doing jump scares, but they get old after a while, so it's not like I'm gonna gravitate on those though. If I'm into the atmosphere, disturbing moment like the anthology series or anything that grabs my attention to go where the story's going, then chances are I'll watch it. But other than that, I'm not really gonna expect everyone to say anything like, "So do I get for Pet Shop of Horrors a recommendation?" I say after watching this video, I say, yeah, you can watch it for yourself. I'm not gonna say it's anything that's gonna leave you have satisfied because again, this series didn't really last that long. If this series has came out today, maybe it would have stood more of a chance. And I think it's because in 1999 there were a bunch of shows that didn't really come of that though. I will say it's not really anything funny, but it is really something I can at least assure you can get you in the Halloween spirit. I don't want to talk about the episodes and what they contain in because if I do, I'll probably spoil something for you guys. But the gist of it is that they're it's gonna be something that's horror based though. Like if you ever go against the contract, maybe that shit is means will get to come to you though. But like I said, anything past this series could actually gravitate your attention. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Pet Shop Horrors overall. And I really do hope the audio feels better when I have these headphones because from what I've heard, headphones actually make the series her videos a lot better and they actually help out a lot of cases. But honestly, though, I don't know when I'll be back in November, but we're going back to the take-ons. And this time, for the take-ons, we're going to look at someone who I have to admit has been in, on my list so far. But if anything, he's more of a funny kind of stupid to the point where you have to question yourself. He's not exactly a troll, but he's still someone like that. But until then, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all enjoy. And as always, stay fantastic. And as well as a happy Halloween. Stay safe, everybody.